Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit TeacherCast.net/StoryboardThat for a limited time offer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast. You are listening to episode number 99, Augmented Reality. Today, we're talking all about things virtual, and we have two great co-hosts with us. I want to bring on Mr. Jeff Herb. Jeff, how are you doing today?
Jeff, I am doing fantastic. Great to be on the show today. How are you doing?
I am good. It is good to see you today, and 99 episodes. We almost did it.
It's so close. I think that we should just shut it down right now.
You mean quit while we're ahead? That's
Quit while we're ahead.
That is a great thing.
Leave everyone hanging.
Well, I mean, Craig and Peggy are here. We have Katie. We have Jean. We are here live on Sunday, 7 o'clock on our usual time. And all of our episodes, people are out there asking already, can be found over on our website, techeducatorpodcast.com. All 99 episodes, including episode 97, where we were live from ISTE. That was a fun one, and we've been getting a lot of good traction
really
for that one.
Time.
Yeah.
And so certainly check that out. Of course, we are here live on TeacherCast.tv. David, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. Today was the first time it was 90 degrees or higher in Connecticut, I think. So it was great to be outside and to actually feel like, wow, it's summer. And so I'll look back on these days in the middle of winter and say, if only it could be July again.
It is a good time to be summertime. I hope things are good up in Connecticut. I'm looking forward to being up crossing through Connecticut in a few weeks. We're going to be doing Q Rockstar Boston, I believe, aren't we?
We are indeed. I'll see you up there it's Boston-ish, I believe. It's in Burlington, right?
Yeah, it's Burlington. It's still Boston is the right idea, but there's a lot of good stuff happening, and I believe tickets are still available. David, what kinds of things are you doing up at Q Rockstar Boston?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing, well, of course, the day one of Q Rockstar is always, Google, Apple. I'm going to be doing a whole session on transforming education through Google Apps for Education. So it's going to be sort of a whirlwind, hands-on tour of what Google Apps for Education can do for schools. And then day two is supposed to be STEM, STEAM. So I'm going to be doing a design thinking workshop using little bits, Legos, and any number of electronic components, and bringing people through the design thinking procedure to help them identify an issue in their community and iterate solutions or potential solutions for those issues. And then day three is innovative pedagogy. And we're going to be talking largely about professional development resources and how to curate them in a way that's most effective for your community.
Nice. I know I'm certainly looking forward to getting up there. We're going to be talking a lot about Final Cut. We're going to be talking a lot about what it takes to be a Google certified innovator, I believe is what we're calling them now, and how to make these little 1-minute videos. There's so many places out there that are asking for you to share yourself with us in these 1-minute videos, and we are going to certainly take a moment to talk about that, and we're going to have a chance to do that. So check out qrockstar.com. There's certainly a lot of good stuff out there. But did you guys know there's an even better conference that's happening soon? If you're interested in podcasting or if you're a podcaster, I certainly encourage you to check out podcastmidatlantic.com, where we are having the first ever podcastmidatlantic.com conference on September 12th in Westville, New Jersey. Only $35 if you really want to learn how to do podcasting and be a podcaster. There are 3 awesome featured speakers, and check that out. There I am. So if you're interested in coming out and hearing star of School of Podcasting Dave Jackson, Anthony Minya, or myself, Tuesday night, the 21st of July, we are having a live Google Hangout to talk all about podcasters and podcasting, and we certainly invite you guys to check that out. It is amazing, some of the stuff that's going on these days. And Jeff, you and I were talking a few weeks ago about what we could talk about today, and you had mentioned that we have never, in 99 episodes, talked about augmented reality. Why is that? Why?
Yeah, what I have no idea.
But we're
craziness.
We're here to talk about it today. Now, is there a difference between augmented reality and virtual reality, or are these the same things?
I would say that they're nearing similar. Augmented reality is what I consider to be taking reality and augmenting it using some sort of technological mean. It's some sort of overlay onto what you'd consider to be reality.
So that's like
Virtual reality is
so that's like where you
what's
see
that?
that's where you see an ultrasound, and instead of one baby, there's three babies that pop up. Is that's augmented reality? Or
Sure, we'll call that augmented reality.
or maybe that was actual reality.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's I would say augmented reality has a lot more user interaction in what is going on in the device. Virtual reality, you picture this putting on a headset and just kind of getting immersed into the environment. I see augmented reality as taking the environment and creating something that isn't typically there. And that's what's really cool about augmented reality. You can take, a piece of paper and make it this highly interactive virtual 3D, 4D type experience that can really give you so many more opportunities to investigate the human body, or to give students primary students a way to learn their alphabet. It spans such a wide expanse, and it's only getting more and more creative as people learn how to use this tool. So by no means do I consider myself an expert at all, but it's something that I think is worth talking about. And we've kind of dubbed this episode Augmented Reality 101. We're not going to get into anything super crazy. We want to give you, I think we've got almost 7 apps on the docket for this evening, just to give you a easy intro into using augmented reality. Each of these apps you can download, print off the trigger, which I'll talk about in just a little bit, and be ready to go in a matter of minutes using augmented reality. So I kind of want to dispel this myth that augmented reality is hard to do, because it's really not, and we're going to talk about that today.
Well, David, as a media specialist, have you ever worked with augmented reality where you open a book, or you put a code on a book? I see you shaking your head there. What have you done in your practicing?
Well, in our library, we have gone through and started adding a lot of newly published books have book movie trailers associated with them that are created by the publishing house. And so what we normally do is we attach those movie trailers to the covers of the book. So we put a little sticker on them to identify to the student that there is sort of hidden augmented material associated with this cover image. So they can take any of the library iPads and sort of peruse the bookshelves. And it's just another way for them to evaluate a potential text to read. They can read the blurb on the back, they can read the inside cover, but then in addition to that, they can watch maybe the trailer. And sometimes some of the fan-made trailers are even better. So I'm always on the lookout for really good trailers to add to our book covers. In addition to that, I've also, throughout the library, sort of created this augmented reality with posters that are hanging on the wall, to album covers that I have up behind my desk. And then I most recently worked with the history department chair to augment the 9th grade history textbook, because they're not ready to go full digital textbook, but neither are they really satisfied with the current state of their analog textbook. So we went through and found some of the best online materials for them. We augmented that textbook, and then we sort of trained the students on how to use it effectively.
I got to tell you, as you're talking about all these different ideas, the chat room is lighting up with not only these awesome, wow, that's really, really cool, but also suggestions. So if you're out there watching live on TeacherCast.tv and you have suggestions, or if you have any questions for our panel here, please let us know in the chat box. And if you are listening outside of our national viewer area, you can, of course, leave me a voicemail over here at teachercast.net/voicemail, or email us at feedback@teachercast.net, and I'll be sure to pass the questions along and leave them in our show notes. And, of course, we always love it when you subscribe to us on teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. Jeff, let's just take it away here. What do we need to get into augmented reality?
Well, the nice thing about augmented reality is that pretty much any device anymore can do it. And that's what's so cool. If you have a phone that has a camera, an iPad, a tablet, anything that can also download apps as well. Because typically there's an app that corresponds with the use of the camera in order to, activate this augmented reality. So it's not very inclusive, I guess, so to speak, in terms of what devices can run it and what can't. Pretty much any device that you're going to get your hands on, especially the ones that we're purchasing for our schools, will be able to run augmented reality type apps. And just as an example, let's kind of get into it here. I'm going to be using an iPad for this demonstration, just because it's easier for me to manipulate while we're doing the tutorial. But I did all of these on my iPhone as well. So I do know that every demonstration that I'm going to do today does work on the iPhone platform as well. And I know also that everyone that I looked at also is in the Google Play Store. So for those of Android users as well, you're good to go with everything you're going to see today.
While Jeff's taking care of that, David, let me ask you, that's okay. Is when you're working with your library staff, what is the time that's needed to put these trailers together? Is it just simply a matter of searching for things and then putting a code on a book or printing a code out on a book, or what kind of preparation do we actually need if we wanted to take a trailer and stick it on a book?
Yeah, well, so I had a bunch of student library assistants this year who I trained
You had interns
to work on this. Good. Say it again?
I said you had interns.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, students who were very excited to work with me around technology integration. And for book trailers, all you really need to do is, Jeff's going to talk about this, but you just need to import whatever the trigger image is going to be. So we would do a Google search for the book cover image, and then we would import that we used Erasma for this as the trigger image. So then the students, all they would need to do is have Erasma opened on their phone or the library iPad, and then just hover over the book cover and it would start playing the video.
Nice. Jeff, how are we doing?
Can you see my iPad?
Yes. And for those watching at home,
Beautiful.
let me get the screen intact.
Excellent. How's my audio too? Okay.
Your audio is good for me, and we are good to go.
Perfect. Good, because I'm standing now and you can't see that. But one of the other, basic tools with augmented reality is something that used to be called Word Lens, and then Google bought them, which is great because they've only continued to make it better and better. But this is a very simple form of augmented reality. You can now get it through the Translate app. If you open that up, you're going to see just a couple of things. You have the ability to speak into this app, and it will do the translation for you. That on the top here, you can see it saying going from Spanish to English, and you can just tap that to flip it around. There are also a ton of other languages you can translate back and forth with using text. There's a little bit less with voice, and then there's another great feature that a lot of people don't know about. And if you see the camera right under the touch to type section, I'm going to click it here, and it's going to bring up. Let me see if I can get the right orientation here. Perfect. It's telling me to align the text. And I guess I should have started with, if I quickly go into the screen here, you'll see it says, Reduzca velocidad. I'm not fantastic at languages, I'm sorry. But on the paper, it is written in Spanish. And when you hover over it, it's going to change it. And sometimes it pulls in some... here we go. It says reduce speed 40 miles an hour. Okay. And the actual text, let's pull up the camera just so you can see what it actually looks like. The actual sign is this. Okay. So this is what's actually printed out on the piece of paper. But if you pull up the Translate app and use their camera, it will actually, in line with what the actual text is, it will change the language to fit the rest of the sign. And that's a really cool feature because that works obviously not only just with street signs like this here, let me freeze it, but also with anything, posters in the classroom, stations that you've set up in different languages around the room if you're in a foreign language class. Tons of incredible opportunities here. If you're going on a class trip to a foreign country, this is a great way to interact with all the different street signs. You see it in the native language, and then you immediately see it change to the language you're familiar with, and you can start those kind of image pairings back and forth. So it's a really, really cool feature. Let me see. So then after that, you're going to see that it's put boxes around each of these different pieces here. If I tap on them, you're going to see it written in its native language, then it translated below it. And you can easily use those. You can copy and paste them and put them together to create a new sentence right from the sign itself. So that's a really cool thing. Very basic, but definitely augmented reality. We're taking something that is not there and changing it to make it more useful for the end user. So kind of a cool way to interact with this signs and languages around us. Questions about that before we continue on?
Now, what happens if you want it? I mean, can you save this? Can you print this out? Can you record this to camera roll? What can you do with this to show off this technology to your students?
Well, in terms of actually seeing it change like this, I would recommend just doing a screenshot. Once you have it looking the way you do, you can pause. Here, let me go back to camera here. You can see in the bottom here, there's import, pause, and scan. So if I just get it the way I want it and hit pause, it will lock the screen like that. I can take a screenshot and then be good to go. I can share that out, the before and the after, so that people can see how it changes from one language to the next. Obviously, Google Translate is not perfect. You will see that there are some slight misinterpretations of what signs mean, and that's just because a lot of things can't really translate perfectly from Spanish to English, Portuguese to French. I mean, you're going between multiple different languages and it doesn't always translate the right way. So you got to keep that in mind too. It's not always going to be perfect, but a really powerful tool to be able to interact with a language in a different way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time. So let's get out of here. And the next app that I want to look at is something called Quiver, and it used to be Color Mix. It's a COLAR Mix. It's really grown a lot since it's been changed to Quiver. It, in its initial kind of interpretation, it was more so just like, here, color this and it comes to life, which was still really cool. I mean, for a primary, early elementary student to be able to color and have their drawing come to life was really a cool thing. But Quiver has taken it a step further. So I'm going to show you in Quiver, and we'll have all the links to these in the show notes. I'm pulling up the Quiver app. It's a free download, and it's going to load up here. And I have a very basic, kind of like a color it in and see what happens type thing. And then we'll show you how it can be more implemented in the classroom. So the app loads up. Again, that's Quiver, and it's quivervision.com if you want to see their website and link to their downloads. But the bottom button with the butterfly is what gets you going. I'm going to tap that. And it's going to load up, and you're going to see on my screen here that it's going to ask me to hold my screen in a location that recognizes the text. It's processing it. It recognizes it. How are we on the feed? Is it coming through okay?
That looks really neat. And actually, that was just what I was going to ask you about. Does any of this have to do with your Wi-Fi connection? Can you be on regular, 4G connection and have this stuff still work? What advantages would you need to have on your internet connection?
So you were breaking quite a bit there.
Uh-oh.
It might be because of my connection. I don't know what's going on.
Do you have to be on a Wi-Fi connection for this stuff to work?
For these connections to work?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Fantastic.
No, you don't have to be on Wi-Fi. You can have all of this completely off if you want, because everything is stored, at least for these first few apps, everything's stored in the app itself. So as you can see on my screen right now, the thing that I drew, which was augmented reality, hooray, with these great rockets here, are coming to life. And the pieces that I colored are actually true to form in the 3D version as well. And so what's even more fun is, as kids want to play with the things that they've created, I can tap on the rocket and it shoots off, goes off into space and explodes, right?
What happens
Really
if
cool.
what happens if you spin the paper?
Oh. Yeah, so you're going to get multiple angles of what's going on here.
Wow.
Okay. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And so what's really cool is I'm going to turn this off real quick. I'm going to pull up the camera. And like any good demonstration, we're going to kind of make a change to this on the fly. I'm going to draw in these stars just because I want you to see how much your modification of the actual art changes or augments the reality. I'm going to fill in these stars real quick. And then we're going to go back into the app and I'm going to show you that what was one blank white stars will automatically change when we go back and read this page again, which is really cool. So we have some green, tealish green stars now. We'll go back into the Quiver app. And we'll load up this page. Here, let me clear out of it real quick. It's so angry, it may hang on a second. Here we go, getting back. We'll load it up. Sorry if it's kind of joggy. I think my reflector app is being weird. But so now, right away, you can see that those stars are filled in on the 3D version, whereas before they weren't. And so it's very dynamic. The changes that you make on the paper can be reflected on the 3D version as well. So we can send that one off just by clicking on it there. And it fires away and explodes. Good times.
That's
pretty cool, right?
That's pretty amazing there. And that's really, really easy. And you can, okay, to do this through Reflector like we're doing it right now is cool, but at a presentation, if you had that on a 50-foot PowerPoint screen, let's say, and you had all the kids holding up their iPads or their iPod Touches or anything like that, you could give them that learning experience right there in their hands as opposed to Sage on a stage 50 feet away.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question there. And I think, when we take a quick break, I'm going to try and connect direct computer and use QuickTime to do this, because I think that's maybe what's jogging us up a little bit. I'm not sure.
Do you need a few minutes?
Yeah, let me try switching that over real quick.
Sure. David, let me bring you back in here. Just looking at some of the stuff that Jeff was talking about and trying to see what we can do here on our own show. I'm kind of reminded that we have this little TeacherCast live icon up here. Couldn't we come up with something where if you were watching this program on live or on YouTube, couldn't we come up with something where if you want to put Erasma or a program up to that, something fantastic happens?
Sure.
Is that the idea that I'm looking at here,
Hey, welcome. I'm Jeff Bradbury, and you're listening to TeacherCast.
God forbid it be Waka, right? We don't want to do that.
No.
Definitely not. But I mean, I was just thinking of ways that we could use this, and somebody had suggested maybe we take the logo and if you and is Erasma the best application for something like that, or is that app that Jeff just showed us, could that also work for any random stuff?
I think the ones that he was just showing come. I don't think you can just add any images to that. Is that right, Jeff?
That is right. Yeah. So the ones that I was showing, and we'll talk about that in a second, you just go onto their website and you can print them off directly. Right. So the ones that I have, I just printed right from their site for free, and it loads right up with their app. So, but yeah, Erasma, you can create your own triggers, which is really cool too.
And are they just virtual characters, or have we gotten to the point where this virtual reality also can be pointed at and touched and manipulated, or is it just a you know, thing at this point?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's obviously you can manipulate, you know, your view of it. That's the nice thing about it. There's a great NASA augmented reality app where you can look at all of the different space shuttles and satellites that have gone out into space, and you can see them. And you can move your iPad around, and you can see it from all different angles. You can zoom in real close. You can push it back. You can look from underneath. But obviously, there's no way yet to touch it. But one of the ways that we used it at school was we augmented some of our, we augmented our yearbook. And so each of the class photos and each of the individual graduate photos, when you use the Erasmus app, so in the inside cover of the yearbook, it says, you know, this is an augmented yearbook, download Erasmus, and then, you know, subscribe to our channel. And then you can go through and you can see all this video content of the kids throughout the year. But we've also augmented some of our admissions materials. We send out postcards for open houses and things like that. So we augment that with some videos, which has been, I think, really successful as well.
And all of that stuff is forever. So 5 years from now, you have your reunion. People can still go back and, if Erasmus is around, find all that content.
I mean, yeah, so far as I know.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's being hosted on their servers. So, you know, to the degree that could be considered permanent, I don't know.
Jeff, how we doing?
We're doing well. I think my screen share is all jacked up, but other than that, everything's great.
Right.
Can you see my iPad?
I can. Let's flip on over there and go for it.
Cool. So like we were talking about with Quiver, the really cool thing is that you just go to their website and you can download these templates already. So you can run them off and give them out to kids, give them out to staff, even for staff PD. It's a great way to kind of reconnect with what it's like to learn something from, you know, a new perspective. And so, you know, we were talking about this. We were at Ed Camp Leadership the other day. And we were talking about what a great way to start off a school year. If you come into a room and you have augmented reality and drones and Sphero robots and stuff, and you tell them to just figure it out, right? And to have that be a way to reconnect with what it's like to learn something completely foreign to them. And just using technology and seeing the different ways that it can kind of change your outlook on things is a really cool potential. So that said, I'm not really sure how I got on that tangent, but in Quiver, you know, to get to a little bit more of the educational piece of it, I'm going to load up the app again. You're going to see it come up on your screen. And we're going to use a diagram of an animal cell. And so this is a really great opportunity for use in, you know, late elementary, early middle school. And you're going to see that on my page right here, I have the anatomy of a cell, and I've filled it out already with my coloring of the different parts. Okay, so I left one of the parts uncreated so far. You can see that the lysosomes are not filled in yet, but we have the nucleus of the cell, which is the green part. You can see my finger as it kind of runs into here and messes around with stuff. The ribosomes are yellow. You have, as you look over here, the mitochondria are red. And it's just a completely different way to see how all of these things interact with each other. You know, it's great to see it on a piece of paper, but after you've filled out and labeled the different parts of a cell, to then be able to go in and see it as it actually would look, you know, in 3D, right? It's so cool to be able to see it just kind of blown out like this from the paper. Really easy to do too. So just as easy as we did that rocket sheet, we're doing the parts of an animal cell. And just the same way, if I were to take another marker and fill in the little empty white cells right here, it would change the next time I loaded it up as well. So very easily augmented, and also creates a really cool learning environment for students to see how all these things fit together. And again, this one is just as simple as printing off the different sheets and handing them out to students and letting them use either, if you have a class set of iPads, if you have one iPad for your classroom, passing it around, you know, doing the whole sharing up to the screen with an Apple TV. Any of those options are really, really easy to do to share out how students are learning using augmented reality.
Jeff, this might be a silly
Questions
question, but do you have to
go for it.
continue to point that at the screen? I mean, okay, let's say that you are the teacher and you have that up on a projection board. Do the kids have to keep their devices directly pointed at that, or is it a situation where once you have that rocket ship, you can now put it down, you can move the angle up, or, I mean, are you going to be teaching to 50 kids who have their iPads directly in front of their faces?
So you do have to maintain focus on the trigger, right?
Okay.
So this sheet itself is the trigger. This is what it's looking for when it's going to load up this augmented kind of world here where we can interact with the rockets and shoot them off and see some fireworks at the other side, right? But so if I were to point up, it's gone. Well, almost gone, right?
Okay.
You do have to keep focus on it, otherwise it disappears.
Got it. Okay. This is amazing stuff.
But isn't it cool? And one of my favorite pieces is, right, so obviously I wrote augmented reality, and it looks so cool in a different perspective. You know, you could use this for pretty much anything. You can write whatever you want there. It could be your, teach me about yourself on their first day of class, right? And the students write their names on there and, just have a little bit more fun doing an introductory exercise as well. So that's Quiver app. I had, the rockets and then the animal cell dissection, which is really cool. We hit Word Wall, which is now Google Translate, and that's a really exciting thing. We're going to jump into questions about any of that so far before we get into something else.
I think for the most people out there, people are just amazed at what you're doing. There's people are sharing some of their ideas. David, did you catch any questions coming up?
Sorry, I mute myself so that you don't hear my dog in the background. There are some questions about, are there other apps that allow you to print out materials that you know
of? Apps that print, yeah, here we go. So AR Flashcards is a really cool one. And this is a little bit more for primary, again, early elementary. And we'll get into some of the more middle high school stuff in just a minute here. But I'm going to show you the AR flashcards right now. You can see it's on my screen. It's the third in on the top, and it's a picture of a monkey. I'm going to load that one up. And I printed off these flashcards just on my, black and white LaserJet printer at home. There are multiple sets. There's dinosaurs. There's the alphabets with all the animals, there's numbers, there's shapes, there's a ton of different things. All you have to do is go into the app and hit get started. And I have these, it happened before I could even show you. So let's jump to the camera real quick, just so you can see what I'm looking at on my screen. So right here, I just have these regular computer paper printed flashcards. It has a big letter A and then alligator. We'll be looking at B here for beaver. We have C for cat, and we have D for dog, and they have the whole alphabet. I just didn't feel the need to do a letters lesson with everyone on the Tech Educator podcast. I'd be happy to go through it with you in more detail at a later date if that should interest you. But so I'm looking at this trigger sheet right here, and it automatically loads an alligator. Okay, how cool is that? It's a whole different way to learn about the alphabet. There's my friend the beaver. Hi beaver, how you doing? And they load just directly on the trigger.
But I noticed it's only taking one at a time.
You know what? I've never tried two at a time. Let's try it. There we go.
There's
a
three.
whole slew of them, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
of.
So we got a whole zoo. Got a zoo here. But that's easy, right? I mean, I printed these off in 5 seconds and was able to get these up and running. And it's just a whole different way to interact with different animals and learn your letters as well. So pretty cool thing.
I just posted
again, this is AR flashcards, and you can go to that at arflashcards.com, and we'll also have the link to that in the show notes.
I just posted this question on the chat myself, but do you know of any Chrome extensions that do augmented reality? And somebody in the chat said not anything yet, but it's coming. And I didn't know if you guys knew if that was the right answer, if there's other things that are out there.
That's cool. I truly don't know. But I would love to hear more. If someone in the chat does know, reach out to me, because I'd love to know about that as well. Let's get into the spacecraft that David, you were talking about, because that is a really cool thing. I have that queued up to ready to go as well. You're going to see on my iPad screen, Spacecraft 3D. It's in the top right corner. And I printed off 3 different triggers for us to look at today. I'm going to pull up the camera just so you can see what I'm looking at again real quick. This is kind of an easy way to look at that. So what looks like just a pile of rocks is supposed to simulate the surfaces that these spacecraft actually work with. So you can just see they're little, like, kind of 3x5 printed cards that just look like lunar or planet surfaces. I'm going to switch into the spacecraft app now so that you can see what this thing actually does. Everything that I've loaded on here today, just so you know, is completely free. I didn't have to pay for any of it to get any of it working, which is awesome. Once you get into this, is, again, like David said, is developed by NASA. Very cool. You can hit select spacecraft, and then you can go through and actually choose ones that you want. But if you click pick by marker, it's going to load based on the marker that's on the table in front of us. So here we go.
Whoa.
We have our spacecraft. Cool, right? This one is really cool because it's very interactive. So you see this spacecraft, we can look at it from different angles. Very cool. We can also unstow it. So that's, you're learning different language skills as well. You know that unstow means to basically unpack. You can tap that button and it opens up right in front of you. How cool is that? So again, you can look around it. You can interact with it in a different way. You can see underneath it, all that stuff, what's under there. And then you have the opportunity to work with it in a different way. You can turn it in different ways. You can have the arm extend.
Jeff, do any of these come with audio, or is this just a visual game at this point?
This, as far as I'm aware, is just visual. I have not encountered anything besides something like Erasma, where you're creating it on your own and linking to maybe a video that's your trigger overlay. It's mostly just been visual, but I'm sure that that's going to change as people, develop this for, maybe the letters they say themselves out loud so that the students can interact with them in different ways, that kind of stuff. But a lot of the ones that I have experience with are mostly just audio, or I'm sorry, visual. So you can click the mast and that spins around so you can see it in different ways. The arm.
And if you put your hand on the card, right? And you spin the card,
it just disappears.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, we could spin the card. We could just, it's just me moving it around the table here.
That's neat.
We can flip it out and put a different one in here.
Now, just thinking, right? in 3-dimensional space, what happens if your table was painted green and your camera was 10, 15 feet away? Could you potentially be moving that Mars rover on a green screen and then maybe Final Cut underneath of it in post?
Yeah, so, in this app, it's not necessarily possible, but I'm going to be looking at, let's see, what was the other app that I was going to be showing you where you can actually record? Let's flip back to Erasma real quick, or I'm sorry, Quiver.
We have about 15 minutes left.
Wow, time flies. We'll hit a couple of the other ones pretty quickly here, but I want to show you this because this is a huge feature, right? So we got the cell diagram up here. you can see the 3 dots on the right-hand side. You can click on that. You can either take a picture of this, or what's even cooler is you can tap the video. We're recording now with audio. So we can easily move around here and say, point at different things and say, this is a, ribosome, and the red things are mitochondria, and yellow are, yellow are the ribosomes. But it's creating a whole different experience, you know what I mean? So I would imagine that, like you were saying with those space things, eventually maybe this functionality will make its way to the NASA app, and then you can easily do that kind of stuff, which would be really, really awesome. But all it does is automatically save it to your camera roll after you're done with the audio over it. What a great way for the students to demonstrate to their teacher that they know the different parts of the cell.
David, this is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. It really is. I think it's a game changer.
And while Jeff's changing that, here's my question to you guys, and even to the people out there. And this has always been my thing on augmented virtual reality. I don't understand yet, and again, please understand, this is coming from the orchestra guy. I don't understand how you teach with this. Jeff, are you supposed to print out one of these little cards, put it on the teacher's desk, and then project up? Am I supposed to print out 24 of letter B, and then I have 24 kids on their own iPads looking at their own badger? I'm not understanding how to properly set up a lesson with this, other than, hey, look, this is neat, this is what it does. Can you give me a little bit of background on how do you create a lesson that's more than just look at this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question, and I think that unless you're asking David, I'm sorry if I kind of just jumped in.
I've been asking this question for a couple of years now, and that's why that's why we haven't done this topic yet. I just don't understand the functional use once you go beyond. Cool, here it is. But again, I'm coming from the orchestra background. I don't have a chance to do a lot of these things.
Well, so think about it, yeah, you could print off 30 letter Bs if you wanted to, but how much more powerful would it be to have letter stations around your classroom and students move around station to station where they have, yes, they have the augmented reality piece with these little cards, but they also have other things that teach them the letters and teach them how to interact with the letters. And that augmented reality piece is just another way to kind of instill that understanding in them. I don't think that it has to be the center focus of the lesson, at least right now. I think that at some point it'll get to a point where, we do have the depth of knowledge on how to use augmented reality in a way that is a total game changer. And we can base entire lessons around our interaction with the human body, where we might be able to even go in there and I'll show that in just a second, because that's one of the coolest ones. Actually, I might as well just do it now while we're talking about this. We are starting to get ways. Daiquiri is this fantastic new platform for augmented reality. And you will see the human body. This sheet is a big trigger here. We'll get it loaded here in a second. It's going to mess with me here. Come on. Any second now. Let me pull it up again. See if it takes it this time. But I mean, this is a great way for the trigger itself has a bunch of information on it, right? It's talking about heartbeats. It's talking about miles of blood vessels. It's talking about a bunch of great information. So the Anatomy 4D one is really cool, but there's also one called Elements 4D, and this is the same thing, right? So you have these little blocks that I created, that I printed and just taped together, right? Each side is a different element, and each side is a different trigger. So as I hold the app over the cube, the side that's facing up will show what the element is, and if you go down a little bit, inside the cube is the actual element. It shows it's a solid. That's what it would kind of look like. And then the amount of volume, 30 milliliters, it shows how much is actually in the cube. Okay, really cool. If you bring in the other cube, so we have sulfur, and sodium. Okay. And then if you put them together, it's going to show you what it would make if it yielded the two together. Okay. That's awesome. So it's showing sulfur and sodium, it's showing the chemical composition, and it just shows what its byproduct would be in both of the boxes. And this is as dynamic as switching it around and creating different pieces based on what the elements are, right? So oxygen, it's clear, put them together, it yields this kind of white powdery bit here.
That is cool.
But how cool is that?
That is
Isn't that awesome?
Now I'm thinking about that skit that Conan O'Brien does where they match two people together and see what their kids look like.
No, exactly right. So you can give one of these bricks. There's 6 of them that are available to print on their website. That you can also buy them as actual bricks so that they are a little bit more durable. But give them to different groups of kids and have them walk around the room and create different kind of chemical reactions. What an awesome lesson that would be, and see how different elements react to each other. And you can put more than just 2 in the thing. I just happen to have the time to print out 2 of them and spend the time creating nice little boxes.
That's really cool. So Jeff, we have
really cool. Isn't it?
10 minutes left. Show us Erasma.
Cool.
What is this app that we keep hearing about, and why is it so awesome?
Oh, here we go. Got the body up
there we
real
go.
fast. Okay. So we have the ability to look at a body and turn off the different systems off and on. We can enlarge them. We can move around. We can look. We can turn off the muscular system and see how the bones interact with each other, how the veins and the arteries run through the body. How awesome, right? And so you can go all the way from basically bare bones and veins to skin level. And you can use this slider wheel to turn off and on the different systems. So this is just one of many. In the anatomy piece, you have the human heart, the brain, all that cool stuff. And it loads right on top of this trigger. Very cool. And again, these are free apps. You download the triggers directly from their websites. There's a bunch of triggers in each app, and you just print it off on whatever printer you have, throw it on a table, and it fires up, which is, so easy. It's not this, I have to set up this, and I have to calibrate that, and this has to work, and that has to work. It's one app and one piece of paper.
My son just finished 5th grade this year, and one of their units of study was the human heart. And so there's the heart one as well, right, where you can see the heart beating, and you can look at you can turn parts of it off and on, and it's amazing. That was a great tool. They didn't have it in school, but when he came home at night and he was doing his homework, we would pull up that app and just really explore the human heart, which was an amazing experience for him.
Yeah, that's so cool. It just takes learning to a whole new level, right? So Erasma, and I just came up with something. I did this in about 3.5 minutes. I put this together. So that's, Erasma can kind of be something where you're like, oh, I'm creating my own triggers. It's a little bit more difficult. It's really not. So when you load the app, it immediately starts looking for triggers that are around you. I decided, what's an easy trigger that I can make that will show people how they can utilize this in their classroom. I sketched out my name on a piece of paper and wrote Twitter under it as my trigger, right? And when it finds that trigger, what it's going to do is overlay an image that I selected, and then follow a link after 6 seconds has elapsed. And like I said, I created this in about 3.5 minutes. It was really easy to do. And this link could embed really anything. You can do an overlay of a YouTube video. You could have another image show up. And this is a great way to kind of reinvent what we consider to be the web quest, right? If we are moving throughout the room, moving throughout the building, you don't have to have it be a text-based piece that they're reading through a bunch of text in order to find something. Have the trigger image be something that's relevant to what they're learning. Have them search for the trigger and then use the trigger to get more information. I think that is such a cool thing. So my image that I searched for is just this thing that I wrote out real fast. And we'll get it going here in just a second to position it to where the way in which it was.
Right.
again, there we go. Right. So it found my trigger. I overlaid I moved it away. I'm sorry. I was moving around. It overlays the image I chose, which is just a picture from my Twitter account. And then after 6 seconds, it's going to load that in a web page. And it's actually just me on Twitter, right? So it's a web page. It's easy. You can use this for anything, any link that you want to load. I have this pillow over here. That could be a trigger image. I have, pictures on my desk also could be trigger images. Like David earlier was talking about books, the covers of books, all that kind of stuff is really, really easy to do. And David, you might want to talk about a little bit about this because you've been using it a little bit more robustly than I think I have.
Well, I think it's interesting because you can also add images that when they're touched, link out to web content. So when we augmented the history textbook, I, in Photoshop, just made little buttons that said something like learn more, so that when a student would hover their iPad over the page, at the end of it, there would be maybe a little button that said learn more, find out more, or at the end of it, it would say take the quiz or whatever, and when they pressed that, it would take them to a Google form where they would then answer the questions based on what it is that they had read and learned from that. So it was a way to sort of weave in the digital and the analog in ways that I thought were pretty interesting. Certainly a year or two from now it will be more seamless, but it was a really great way to learn a bit about how this could be used effectively in the confines of a classroom, or the context of a classroom, I should say the confines.
So you're actually pushing on the iPad screen where the virtual button is. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, so you hover the iPad over the screen, and then above whatever the trigger image is like maybe a blue button that says learn more, and you press that, and then it takes you to a web video, or it'll say take the quiz, and you press the button, and then it opens up the Google form, which is an assessment.
Jeff, could you show us a little bit about that? I know you said it only took like 3 minutes to set up the Twitter thing. Could you give us a 3-minute demo of how to set up exactly what you just did?
I probably could. I did it just on my laptop before.
But everything can be done from the iPad app, or I'm assuming, is this iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch? Is this Android? Is Erasma just iOS?
No, I'm pretty sure it's very multi-platform. That's my understanding of it. I don't know if David's in a position to present. I have not created one from the app itself.
Okay. Well, that just means we have to do another show on this.
Well, here, let's see. Give me 1 second while I...
So we have Katie Ann in our chat room, Jeff, and she is awesome when it comes to augmented reality. David, help me out. Did I hear that she's doing an augmented reality Google Hangout coming up? And
yeah.
What is Katie doing? Because Katie is awesome.
In the back channel here, she does. Am I muted?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, good. All right. So she's doing an augmented reality Google Hangout Wednesdays. I'm going to sort of scroll back here. Wednesday evenings, and the link for that is on her Google Plus community page. So I think we can probably put that in the show notes. Jeff, I will send that link to you. I have it right here. I just joined the community because I definitely want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And she mentioned also that she's starting a Twitter chat on augmented reality. I believe, again, I'm now scrolling back, but I think she said this Thursday.
Would that be
at 9 p.m. Eastern, or next week, Thursday, 9 p.m.
That was.
I wonder what the hashtag is for that. I don't know yet.
Can I try that one again?
Yes.
Would that be our chat?
Huh,
it didn't work. It didn't work the second time either. I'm sorry. Let's try. Jeff, how are we doing? Save me.
Well, I'm kind of just making it up as I go here, which could be kind of fun, right?
That's what we've done for 99 episodes.
From the main screen of the Erasma app, you can tap on the bottom left corner with the plus sign to be able to create an overlay. What comes up is a bunch of different stock overlays that you can put on here. So I'm just going to use one of these to show how easy it is to set up an overlay and this is, similar-ish to what's on the website. So let's use this rabbit from a hat trick guy. You can see the animation there. We're going to select our trigger, and we're going to make it this water bottle here and hit select. And so all of a sudden, we can move it around here and make him show up on the top when it hits the trigger, right? Perfect. And save it. We'll name rabbit. Just give it a quick name and hit finish. And obviously this is not what you'd necessarily use it for in the classroom, because you wouldn't necessarily want to have a rabbit coming out of a hat, a magician guy. But you can see now, if I move to something else, it's going to look. It's not finding any triggers. But if I go back to my water bottle, it immediately hits it. And you have this guy animating on top of my water bottle. So it's really easy to create it. And I could have just as easily, not used an animation. I think animations are kind of fun, but we could have added more, worth to this by having it go to a link or go to a YouTube video or something like that. But that's how easy it is from the app, because I just learned how to do this right now. I learned how to open it up, create a new overlay, use the overlay, and select my trigger image in about, 30 seconds. It gave me to figure it out. So it's not that difficult.
And we're finding out here that there is actually a Chrome extension for Aurasma. Is that what they're saying here, David? Oh, sorry. Craig Yen says Aurasma is also available on Google Play. So really, really cool stuff there.
Very cool.
Yeah. So look, we definitely need to be doing this topic again. I'm looking forward to the chat coming up. I'm looking forward to joining Katie Ann on her Google Hangout to certainly learn more. And Katie, if you ever want to come back onto the show and do a little demo of this stuff, we would certainly love to have you on here.
For sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be really, really cool to have you guys on there. Guys, I know we've done 99 episodes. I've learned something from every single one of these episodes, but I don't think there's ever been an episode other than that I've learned more from today. Jeff, thank you so much for putting all of this stuff together.
Absolutely. No, it was a blast. I was having so much fun getting it all put together. So, I was so excited when I saw the alligator show up on the trigger. So everything else was just incredible.
But you know what?
So I've had a lot of fun. Teachers and students love this stuff. They really do. And so it's really exciting to be able to share it with people. So yeah, it's a great time.
But I love the idea that no matter how far technology has gone with us, you still need to have a printer. You still need to have these basic tools to create
right?
this. Now, I'm sure instead of hitting print, you can save it to a PDF. I'm sure you can do a lot of things with this. But it is really, really neat. And I know, I've been wanting to get an answer for the how do you do this question for a while. And, okay, I think part of what I'm going to be doing this summertime to get ready for my new position is to create some what are they called? Aurasmas? What is the official term for what you're doing?
Auras.
I think they're called auras.
Auras. Yeah. I'll add that to the show notes. I definitely love this stuff. David, where do you see the future of this? Okay, you've done it in your yearbook, you've done it with books, you've done it with trailers. What are you doing, or what are you planning to do differently this year to maybe take this augmented reality to the next level?
Yeah, well, I would really love to start using some augmented reality in the makerspace for, some basic, how do you use the tools in here? We had mentioned learning centers and stations in the classroom. We're also having some of that in the makerspace area, so that when students come, and I can't really show them necessarily how to operate the Sphero or whatever it is, that there is a way for them to get a quick maybe video tutorial from me or something along those lines. So I'm looking to see if there's a way for me to implement it for almost to duplicate myself in that makerspace area.
Nice. Jeff, where do you see this? You're starting a new position. By the way, congratulations. If you guys haven't heard, Jeff is
Thank you.
Starting in a new school, new position, new everything. Why don't you give them a little bit about what you're doing right now?
Give us a bow.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I'm transitioning. I was the assistant principal at a high school for a number of years, and now I'm moving to a new building in the same district, middle school, as the principal. So I'm really excited about that. And we have a fantastic staff and a bunch of great students. And I know that we're going to be implementing a lot of this great instructional technology in our building too. So, I see this as being a really great opportunity for us to transition and utilize some of our devices in completely different ways. I think that, the elements one is the one that caught me off guard so much, to be able to see how those two different elements react together, give them the element equation. And I just think that's such a neat thing that could easily be brought into a science classroom. And it doesn't take a ton of extra work, but I think it teaches in a completely different way that can help students learn and understand those interactions differently. And so, I just see it not necessarily changing the content, because our content is our content, but I think it's just the way that we interact with our content, and maybe hitting it home for some students that just need a little bit of a different approach.
Well, I know we're going over time, but this is a really good conversation. And by the way, the chat room is doing amazing tonight. We've seen Erasma creating a trigger and an action. We've seen the Mars rover being something that you can print out and it pops up and it opens up. Are there programs out there to build these 3D models so you can create your own cell? I mean, okay, cells are nice. Again, I'm the orchestra guy. Can I bring Beethoven to life somehow?
Absolutely. To be perfectly honest, I think that's all through the daiquiri. And if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the nice frozen drink. But the daiquiri is really opening up to be a way for you to create different models. They have the daiquiri studio. All of these different things can be implemented in so many ways, way beyond even what I know. If we want to we could have a whole episode about daiquiri itself, and we'd probably want to bring in an expert to be able to share with us about that. But yeah, you can absolutely create so many different things now, whereas I would say a year or two ago, it was the triggers that people created for you and the animations that you had available. I think more so now, platforms like daiquiri are making it accessible for people to create the overlays that they want to use in their own classroom.
Right, and I think you can also, with Erasma, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can also use a 3D model as your augmented reality layer. And so for that model, I think you can download a 3D model from, say, SketchUp that either you've created or that you have downloaded from the community, which I thought, and actually experimented with this, and I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it to, but I really wanted that history book to, when we looked at a picture of the Eiffel Tower, for the Eiffel Tower to actually then, as a 3D model, appear. And so maybe someone in the chat room could tell me what I did wrong there, but it just showed up sort of as like a black box, and I couldn't get any of the detail from it. So again, maybe as it continues to develop over time, it will become easier to use 3D models that are pre-existing, and I would assume also any 3D models that I create in any number of 3D modeling software that's available.
I'm thinking of an EdCamp session here of augmented reality for podcasters. I don't know. This stuff just seems really, really neat, and there's so many different ways to do all this stuff. So certainly check this out. Jeff, thank you so much for putting this together. If you have I know you probably have to go. You got baby things, but there's so many questions coming in right now on all of this on the chat room. I hope you have a chance to stop in there and answer some of the questions here. But Jeff, thank you so much. Where can we get a hold of you and learn more about the great work that you're doing, Jeff?
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, it was such a great time putting this together tonight. You can find me at instructionaltechtalk.com or on Twitter at Jeff Herb.
Am I looking at you through your camera?
Yes, I couldn't get it back on there. For some reason, it wouldn't switch back from screen share, and so I pulled an audible and I loaded up the camera app.
I'm just looking at this going, that's not the camera angle I left you at. David, where do we find more information about the great work that you're doing in your classroom or library?
Yeah, I'm actually in the moment right now of relaunching my entire blog, which will be at designsaunders.com, and you can find me on Twitter at designsaunders.
Nice. And of course, we'll be looking forward to seeing you up in Boston at Q Rockstar Boston. Of course, you can check us out here on TeacherCast. You can follow us online at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And of course, if you're listening to this, please head over to iTunes at teachercast.net/iTunes and leave us a big rating. Leave us some reviews. We've been reading those ratings and reviews over on our brand new show, educationalpodcasting.today. We read a few on our latest episode. By the way, we put out a new episode today, guys, which was all about how to find and pick co-hosts for podcasts. So if you're out there and wondering how we've survived 99 episodes, check us out. And really, as we're coming up to our 100th episode, I am really, really excited and can't say enough, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for watching. We are, of course, here every single Sunday night. I say that knowing that we're going to be taking the whole month of August off, but coming in September, we are starting our brand new season here with episode 101. Thank you guys out there. Thank you, Darth. Thank you. I did say that. Thank you, Darth. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Laquita. Thank you. He's on the chat. Craig, Peggy, Ted, Janine, David, Katie, Ann, you are awesome, and Myra. Thank you guys so much. Keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.